Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to present here in this very distinguished conference, so thank you very much. In the last decade, terrorism took a main portion of our enterprise. The academic discourse here and in the intelligence units and security units, this was a decade for world jihad. This was a decade of the Islamic State and caliphs. It saw how Al-Qaeda fell and how it started to build itself again. In Israel, we continue dealing, of course, with the Palestinian terrorism and Hezbollah. Iran was at times missing from this terrorism discourse, and we privatized it, and we basically talked about the Middle East issues, and we'll get to the nuclear issues later. But Iranian terrorism was present, and many and good Mossad people dealt with it, and it is now ever more so present. It is an inseparable part of the Iranian threat and the Iranian security challenges that are posed for many countries worldwide. Terrorism is a milestone in the Ayatollah regime point of view since it's gained power. It is a regime that based its ruling on intimidating, and it takes violence as a legitimate means. Have no doubts. This is a political terrorism. It is done with direct instruction from the leader, financed by the leader. It is executed by intelligence and security branches headed by the IRGs. In addition, the intelligence ministry of Iran is also a part of it. These are not random activities. These are not random initiatives of people. This is political, well-planned, methodological terrorism. It is strategic. Khamenei, the leader of Iran, who is instructing to elaborate and expand the nuclear program, is destabilizing the area. It operates terrorism, supports it, and spreads it throughout the world. Under the leadership of Khamenei, Iran is a republic using terrorism for its various needs. We must not regard Iran as the Islamic Republic of Iran, but rather the Terror Republic of Iran. Terrorism is not for the protection of Iranian citizens or lofty ideals. It serves one goal: to gain power, to gain control for the regime. More than anything else, terrorism is used by Iranian regime to silence its antagonists from within and from without, and to suppress the Iranian population. It is a show of power which covers the many failures of control to make sure that the regime sustains and to disable any possibility to try and topple the regime. Terrorism is used to base and fortify Iranian powers around the world. Terrorism is used to break the balance in the region, to deter the neighboring countries, and in particular to deter those who are searching to be in close connection with the State of Israel. On the international level, it is an alternative to diplomacy, and it complements diplomacy. Terrorism is activated on a daily basis against countries and citizens of various origins. It is used as bargaining chip, sort of. The Iranian regime is breaking rules, it's breaking ideology and moral instructions while cynically using Islam and its values. The regime is killing people with no context or explanation. Unlike religion and the public, the regime is giving its protection to drug dealers, to criminals outside of Iran, in order to finance violent activities and to uphold them against the decree of the Islam. in a principally antagonistic fashion to its faith. The Iran is hosting the leaders of Al-Qaeda in order to use them later against citizens. The need for terrorism overrides any religious disputes. Even in its weakest form, the same Iran is leading a campaign which is a worldwide one. It talks about harming Jews only because they're Israelis or Jews. Everywhere and in every sort of mean is fit for the job. Recently, we have thwarted dozens of terrorist attacks abroad. In Cyprus, we thwarted an attempt to harm Israeli business people. In Turkey, another attempt to harm local business people and an Israeli diplomat. In Colombia, there was an attempt to harm Israeli business people, and in many other places in the world, we managed to stop a try for terrorist attack. We managed to catch the terrorists with their means for killing, and in their investigation, they did talk about the purpose of their activity. The intelligence organization headed by Hussein Taib, the IRGC, in Turkey sent 3 various divisions of terrorism to Istanbul in order to try and kill any Israeli they can put their hands on. No distinction whatsoever. We were just about to see a harm done to our people. Intentions were already there. They already marked their targets. Because of high-quality intelligence, because the determined people in the Mossad, and with excellent cooperation with IDF, Shabak, the National Security Council and Foreign Ministry Office, and with the assistance of the Turks, we managed to thwart imminent terrorist attacks just a moment before the trigger was pushed, just a moment before having to deal with tragic occurrences, and we saved lives of innocent people, Israelis and Jews. Since then, Taib was already let go of after we exposed his plans. But the Iranian did not let it slide, of course, and they continue doing things. The nuclear agreement between the superpowers and Iran is being discussed right now, and Iran is expanding its terrorist activities and not only targeting Israelis. Nuclear talks are not harnessing its expansion in no way. They never slowed terrorism. Terrorism activity is going stronger on the U.S. land as well as Europe. And this while negotiating in Vienna with a lot of fierce intention and not trying to let it go. They're trying to harm senior people in the United States. We can talk about Pompeo, former Secretary of State, and other people who are objecting the Iranian regime. Nasir Ali-Nejad is also another example. As far as the Iranians are concerned, they're seeing that you can separate the two. You can have a very civilized conversation with a nice Western appearance regarding the nuclear plan, and at the same time they can work and try to harm citizens using their proxy. The two activities, same country and same strategy. The artificial separation which serves them will continue to work as long as the world lets them slide. If we don't ask them to give account for terrorist activities in the harshest of way, they have a green light. They will continue with world terrorism. They talk to the Americans and they try to kill Americans in America at the same time. Operating through proxy, operating through an extended reach, this is a policy. This is a constant request, a constant demand of Khamenei, which fulfills a strategic need to have this area of denial. the regime is let go of any blame. It can play with the world according to their own Iranian rules. This area of denial gives it immunity, and it enables it to continue with terrorism in an unreined way. It is very easy to send for operations when you don't have to bear responsibility. The Iranian regime is trying to be cautious in the midst of talks on the nuclear agreement, and we can only assume what will happen after there's no political pressure. We can only imagine how the Iranian regime will operate when the agreement is already signed and then all controls on brakes are out of their way. Last week, I presented in the United States the implication of signing a nuclear agreement if this is done. At the moment of signing the agreement, the terrorist regime will gain $6 billion, and in addition, they're going to have $90 billion in the first year and many dozen more every year following. In addition of 25% for their product, for their national product. There's no other country in the world that is going to have such a meaningful growth in its GDP. What portion of this immense addition will be allocated to terrorism? What is going to be allocated for gaining power for Hezbollah in Lebanon, for the Al-Quds forces that are trying to take over broad areas in Syria? What additions are the Iraqi militia going to have, and the Houthis in the Yemen? They're going to gain momentum and strength and act against countries that are friendly to Israel in the Gulf. Let's assume that only a small percentage of these immense additions will be directed to terrorism and to regional terrorism, meaning we're talking about multipliers who are going to build regional mechanisms, they're going to gain power in an unproportional way. And then our challenge and the world's challenge to prevent terrorism and to prevent Iran hegemony in the area is going to be a huge challenge. And this is one of the clear implications of the agreement. As I warned our strategic partners in the United States last week, the agreement will get Iran closer to its strategic vision of having nuclear power. The agreement is beneficial only in the very short term, and it is very dangerous in the mid and long range. The agreement, as it is phrased today, is based on Iranian lies. There's no doubt there. And this was proved via the archive materials we brought from Iran. Iran was aspiring at developing nuclear weapon, which is risking our existence here, and it is still aiming for that. The way to materialize this goes through an agreement which will enable them in an easier fashion to gain it under legitimacy, international legitimacy. Iran has to stop the long-year deception, and world must demand the truth and not enable the open files to be closed for this agreement. The world must demand that the nuclear program for peace purposes, as they say, will continue for many years, but with no expiration date, after which the program will change its designation. This is one of the biggest dangers in the agreement. It's important for me to stress, we are not partaking in this game of closing the eyes. We are not turning away from the proven truth. We are relying on facts. We are well versed with the Iranian vision. We see how it comes to be. And so even if a nuclear agreement is signed, this is not going to bring any immunity from Mossad activities. From this podium, as head of Mossad, I want to clarify the Iranian regime will not have any space for denial. The Mossad and its partners will expose and will continue to expose anyone who stands behind attempts for terrorist activities. And the main axis. The driver is Iran. Iran regime is not going to have any area of immunity. The Mossad will continue asking for payment from anyone involved, from the top to the last person involved. Iranian rulers have to be aware of the fact that activating any force against Israel, directly or indirectly via proxy, will be met with a very hurtful reaction on the land of Iran. We are not going to go after the proxy. We're going to go after those responsible who gave them their mission, who gave them their weapon, the instructions, the commands. And this will happen in Tehran, in Kermanshah, and in Isfahan. We have to force the leader Khamenei to leave terrorism as his preferable tool, to turn terrorism as something which does not pay off. And for that, we have to continue negate from Iran successes, but also collect international prices, diplomatic, national. We have to fully exercise all processes in legal fashion. We have to use financial instruments, and we have to turn our backs to a country which is taking the way of terrorism. This is all not connected to the negotiation, to its outcome. All of our activities will be done, of course, together with the IDF, Shabak, the entire security system in Israel, and our partners in the international community. We will work together on intelligence, operations, and on the political arena as well. One last sentence of conclusion. The leaders of Israel have always seen in terrorist threats tests to see how resilient we are. This is our command. Thwarting any terrorist activities in the recent period of time were done because of very high-quality intelligence that allowed us to protect not only our people, but all free citizens of the world. An important component in protection is going in the offense, pinpointed offense, in order to prevent future attempts. It's true for terrorism, it's true in the region, and it's true as far as the nuclear program is concerned. We will not allow for any space of immunity for terrorists and for terrorist regime of the Terror Republic of Iran. Thank you very much.